Okay, so first off, looking again at this snapper class, I see that this is telling me overrides a superclass method but it's not declared override. I thought that this was how I could use an abstract. For now I will just make it an override method. No, virtual. Is that right? Override. Or is it just that abstracts have to be overridden as well? Well, let me see what happens if I do that. Or should this actually have an end as well if it's a virtual? Or what if I say abstract? Sorry, these are things that I forget about the language. I do like the language, but it seems okay. Now, another thing I realized about this length snapper is that I don't need to use sine cosine. I had a feeling I didn't, and when I look at this, these two triangles, this inner one and the outer one in this diagram, are similar triangles, of course, so I don't really need to know the angle. I need to know the proportion. Now I wonder if I can just cut this down, because really what I'm looking for is the proportion of one to the other. And I have to, as always, think about which way around this goes. This is what I want to multiply the xd and yd by to get the new xd yd. So it will be smaller if the new d is smaller than the d. So if new d is 0.5 and d is 1, then I want the proportion to be 0.5, which is 0.5 divided by 1. So it's the new distance divided by the distance. Am I right about that? So if the new distance was 1.5 for some reason, and the distance was 1, 1.5 divided by 1 gives 1.5, which is right. That's the correct proportion. And so I could spell it all out again, and in fact I will. xd times equals proportion, and yd times equals proportion. Out x equals in x plus xd. Out y equals in y plus yd. So now I don't bother with the trig, I just find the proportion of the new distance to the old distance, and I multiply the x difference and y difference that I first figured out by that, and add that to the original. Oh no. It should be added to the origin. It's just as well I'm looking at this again. I would have been very confused otherwise. Okay, yeah. Yeah. It's added to the origin. Okay, yeah. I think that's right. I'll probably find out that it's wrong. I reserve that likelihood. The angle get nearest. The angle also has an origin and size. All of these constraints, snappers, I don't like that name actually. In fact, I'm going to change it. I'm going to I will call it snap. I won't call it constraint, because constraint could have loads of other sort of meanings, I suppose. And these I will also expand upon, because grid is too vague. I'll call that grid snap and length snap. Angle snap. Extend snap. A snap. Does that make sense? Don't know. Also has size and float. But these, all of these could use like an offset as well, an x and y offset for the grid, a size offset for the length, and an angle offset for the angle. But I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to make it simpler than that. Also, I like to have space down here. The angle get nearest needs to override. Again, I'm going to figure out things like lookalike. Oh, well, first off, actually, do I really want to fix another problem? Do I really want to just compress this down? Because, yeah, D is used twice. I could just do all of this divided by D. The integer of this times size, yeah. I begin to get nervous about what I'm assigning an integer or not, but I could just do... No, I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it like that. It's pretty unclear as it is. And apart from anything, I'm going to read off it x difference float equals, once again, in x minus origin, x, comma y difference float equals in y minus origin y. What am I going to do with it this time? Again, I am going to need the distance. I'm going to float equals distance xd comma yd. Excuse me. I will learn to move my microphone when I do that. Now, I'm finding the distance. This time, I do want to find the angle equals arctan 2 yd comma xt. Okay, that's the angle to the point from the origin. And what I need to do is figure out which adjacent angle is closest given the size. Now I hate thinking about angles. Arctan 2 will give me minus 180 to 180. The size I'm just going to assume is something sensible. So can I still just basically do the same thing? I think I am just going to do the same thing, which is to say local new angle float equals, can I really just write it out exactly the same, of angle plus I'm putting in an extra set of brackets here like that, size divided by size. So yeah, it's the size divided by 2 plus the angle divided by the size multiplied by the size. I just feel weird about the way the angles work, but I suppose that's the way it goes. So that's given me the closest angle, which means that again I'm using out x. Actually, why does this look... let me just get to the end of it. Origin x plus the cosine of angle times distance, and it's the cosine of new angle times distance. Out y equals origin y plus the sine of the new angle times the distance. Pretty much the same as I was doing up here. It's just I feel like I'm saving myself a little handful of trig functions, and it's crazy in a way because this will be called a handful of times a frame at most. So anyway, is this a new angle? Right. Is that possibly really all there is to a snap class? Grid snap, length snap, and angle snap. This one has a new, these ones don't. And I guess I will make a new method new, and I think I will just pass an x and a y. I know I should pass like my own classes and everything, but and s float equals again. Okay. I'm also want to abandon using my quickie, like my quick creators like gvec will make a vector with x and y as a function. I guess I will use it in function calls and things where I have to, but I suppose it's neater. Okay, and actually this is going to be exactly the same for this. Okay, so I suppose this reflects the things. Now, what actually do I do with those? Let's look again in my horrific. Oh, and so the work zone gadget, finish draw. Now, what I'm going to do just now is I'm going to make a list. Is this the way I want to do it immediately? What I was going to say is I'll make a list, local snap list, list snap equals new list snap. A list of snap constraints which I'll populate with this bit of logic and then I'll draw afterwards. I think that's what I'm going to do. It's tricky. It's tricky. Because really this is not the way this logic should work. I think the bit of logic that works the gadget, checks positions, finds closest snap positions, that's the thing that should create a list which is maintained overall by the work gadget, the work zone gadget, sorry. I think it's just that I actually want to construct it here just now, just like I've been doing most things inside the finish draw method, so that I can see the results. It's just I will do this just now. And what about that? Oddity. Okay. Snap not found. I can do this and it'll probably crash, I think. Yeah. Not found. Why not? Snapper. I am confused. What? Why? Sorry to... I might have to pause for a moment because... Oh, okay. I am sorry about that. I was running the wrong piece of code, but anyway. Snap still not found. Excuse me, my mouth is dry. At Windows swap interval. Not found. Okay. Right. I might have to be confused about that for a while because did I remove something important? I'm sorry for this delay. These things do happen. No. But this is still not found anyway. Identifier snap. Class snap. Using recursive space, using general space. I'm baffled. Just for GUI space db. I do not know what db is. Using oh, okay. I'm going to pause for a moment because I'm really baffled by this. Okay. Well, I did solve that problem just by giving everything lots of namespace and making sure everything used everything. I think I've been a bit cack-handed with it, but it's solved the problem. Anyway, so I have these snap classes and I have my massive recursor editor class that works on class, and here in finished draw I'm making a list of snaps. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to generate that list in here, and I'm going to now say our project angle snap equals true, because now I feel like I can get rid of this. And within here I will add one or two things to this list, which I'll then parse. Is that right? Yes, that's what I'll do. Now, I will add this in here as well. If that or that, and selected vert is greater or less than null. This or this, and this. Or should I maybe do this? Because either one of those things have to be true, and this has to be true to make this bit worthwhile. But I can get rid of... Oh, don't tell me I can't do that. Oh, I can do that. Good. I can get rid of that because I want to bring this stuff back in from the edge of the... Anyway, I feel like it's taken up too much room. Right. I don't need to assign as many vectors as this now, I don't think, because of the way I will be deciding it. But basically, if num say x equals 0, then something's going to happen. These parts happen. Okay, let me think for a moment. Looking back at this again, getting a bit of space. So, if selected corner equals project, this is if it's the first corner, I get the vector. Now I can transform that vector immediately and create. Yeah, okay, I think if I just say take the viewport, like the work zone viewport, transform vector, the vector that's going in is the, in this case it's the subsequent vector, and what's coming out is the, oh gosh, transform subsequent vector. And I am, now I kind of know what I want to do with that vector, don't I? It is length snap. Yeah, length snap, it's snap list. That's a roundabout way of doing it. Snap list add last. New length snap. Why is this not caught up? Well, it hasn't. And that length snap is at tsv x and transformed subsequent vector y and 1 second. Oh, hang on a moment. Sorry for the sudden pause. This, anyway, let's just object length snap size. That's how I thought it should look, but actually vpause is not figured out at this point. What have I done to ruin the figuring of vpause? I am afraid to say I've removed it, when by now it should be figured out. It should be here. Vpause, it's defined up there. Now I'm confused. I'm wondering why it's not figured out, and I suspect it's because I just made a mistake. Let me check my time. Okay. I'm trying to figure out if vpause needs to be figured out in numsegs equals 0, because I'm just going to use, I don't think it does. In fact, I think vpause doesn't need to be determined out there. For the time being, I won't. I'll just put it in here. I'll make it. This means that basically that Basically, it means I'm not defining it if I don't need to. I'm just so baffled by what I'm doing here. So what vpause equals is seg size times why is this? Oh, I remember what it was. Gosh, I can't believe I managed to delete this because it's the integer. Oh, my head is starting to ache. I'm going to have to sort this out, and I'm going to have to call it a day. But it's I need to. I need to use project corner set. I really managed to delete this. I can't believe I did, but I did. Corner set vpause equals seg size times project corner set I'm looking down this list, I'm looking to find, it's not even corner set, is it? It's corner that I want. Corner find index. I'm so sorry, this is rubbish. It's selected corner find index of selected. Oh dear dear, I really shouldn't write code when I'm so tired. I was obviously tired earlier as well because I just deleted this important line, which I think I've now got right. Segment size equals 1 divided by the float of number of segments. vpos equals the float of segment size times select corner find index selected. Okay, vpos should make sense again. And I can come back to this. Snap last, add last, this tsvx, tsvy project length, snap size. And in here, something similar is x transform vector, yes. And this time it's pv, except I'm beginning to realize I don't need all these things because I'm just going to be adding one by one new length snap. And actually I'm not even quite finished there yet. Before I do that, I'll say snap list add last new angle snap, which is also at ts. Sorry. Right here, I say if project length snap. Now, maybe I'm doing this logic quite silly. By this time, one of these things is true. Angle snap. Snap, angle snap, transformed subsequent vector x, transformed subsequent vector y, project angle snap size. Okay. And similarly here. I'm actually just going to put this in like this. And remember to update this to a previous. These are not good names. In fact, I'll probably do myself good to really make this a lot more lean shortly. But okay, so here, if it's the first, then I set up a pair of snaps for the subsequent corner. If it's the last corner, I set up a pair of snaps, if they're required, for the previous corner. And if it's any in between, then I set up both. For the time being, I'm drawing them, but what I actually need to do is add them. Now, GUI draw image second, yeah, that I'm going to take out in a sec because I'm just going to also add the grid, I guess. Snap list add last. A grid snap of project grid snap size, comma, because it's just a square grid in my project. This is what I meant when I said my grid snapper is better than my project requires. How clever. Where's my problems here? Goodness me. Falling asleep as I type. I'm sorry, this is such a boring one, but if I I probably wouldn't be able to concentrate at all if it wasn't for the fact that I'm having to talk about what is in front of me. I would be so tempted to read Reddit. Snap L, add last, grid snap, a new grid snap. Project grid snap size, project grid snap size. I think that's right now, buddy. So, assuming I've done this right, which is a wild assumption, this is not right. This needs to be slightly different now. Because there's a pair of possible things to add: length snap and angle snap, and angle snap and length snap. Okay. Oh, I'm not doing this right at all. And this is for previous, previous, and subsequent, subsequent. And this is for previous, previous, and subsequent, subsequent. Oh, okay. Well, that was quite a palaver. Most of this won't belong, I think, inside the... I beg your pardon, inside the render part, inside finish draw, which is where I am. I think most of it belongs somewhere else. And I think... Oh, it's like it's somewhere... Like, I know what it's going to be, but... Sorry, I'm wittering about it because I'm trying to think where it actually is going to end up. I'm working through all this and kind of getting tired of it and realizing this is all got to change. Now I'm going to go through snap list. After all that logic, for local sn snap equals each in snap list, and for each of them I want to say goodness, more locals. Here I will say snap vector g vector equals new g vector, and what's the problem with that? I'm just going to leave it for a second. And I will say for each snap that's been created, get nearest. This is where having it here doesn't make a lot of sense, because I'm not really figuring out where the mouse is at the point where I draw the image. And actually, well, no, this is okay, yeah, but I'm not. I don't really have the mouse pointer at hand. How can I get it? I suppose I can just make, and I suppose I can just make a vector with it in it, and I can transform it. It's annoying to have to do it. Is that the only way? It is, but it's. Oh, I'll put it in here. I'm frustrated by doing this, to be fair, because of the way I transform the vectors apart from anything else. Okay. Local MP g vector equals new g vector. And what I'll say is inverse of x, I think, is what I need, because I want not something in the world to the screen, but I want the mouse pointer on the screen to be put into the world, which means I have to do that transform vector, and the vector I'll put in this case will just be a little temporary thing, and what will come out will be MP. Excuse me, and the thing that will go in will be mouse X and mouse Y. I bet I'm really not doing that right, but hey ho. And what will go in here is going to be MP, and what will come out is snap vector. And what will happen there is that will be drawn at snap vector X and snap vector Y. So that looks crazy. I'm certain this will not work, but you gotta run it sometime. I will have to probably stop using this language quite soon, and I will miss it very much, but hey ho. Okay, what should I be seeing? Wow, okay, something weird there. Okay, well... Right, okay. Right, okay. I am probably going to call it a day in a moment, because this total is going to be 36 minutes. But... well, at least I do have 3 spots. And if I select an end vector, what do I get? I have 2 spots, yeah. One of these is the grid snapping, and one of these is... oh, 3 spots. Okay, now I'm confused again. I should be having a spot for grid snapping, a spot for... oh no, angle snapping and length snapping, of course. But then I think if I've got an oh yeah, there they are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay, well, some things are happening, and a lot of it is wrong. I am happy enough to call it a day at that. I must sound exhausted. I'm sorry I've rambled. But in some ways that is progress. It looks awful, I realise, but hey, it'll be okay. Bye.